Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. So from a Decode Your Burnout perspective, when we talk about type A personalities, as you're describing your go, go, go mentality, you definitely fit into a doer. That's exactly the definition of one, right? And so we can say that, you had a lot of environmental stressors. You had toxic environment. You talk about the people there were terrible. You were working long shifts. You didn't have days off. And there was heat and, just the physical stress of wearing all the armor and all these things. So all of that kind of together was very stressful. And on top of that, you have that internal pressure to constantly show up. And I have to ask, you mentioned that you were Irish. I don't know if that was something that was taught in your family, but where do you think you learned to be so hard on yourself and keep pushing so hard, even when you're exhausted and you're not sleeping and you feel so miserable? Like, where did that work ethic come from?
It came from my family, and not in a good way. I looked at my family and I didn't like how they lived their lives. I didn't like where we were at, the way we grew up later in life. We were middle class till about 7, and then it was poorville from there on out. And, poor. And that's what I mean. Both parents, GEDs, and they didn't have avenues to improve their lives, and nor did they seem to have the makeup to do it. I don't know what had happened. And for a guy like me, I didn't understand it. And my work ethic comes from not being that. That's where it derived from. I said, I will not become my family. And that's where, that's a bitter pill to swallow too at times. But that's life. Hey, don't cry for me. I always say this, no matter how bad you have it, there's someone always out there that has it much, much worse.
Agreed.
And that's how I always looked at it. And I would catch myself go, stop whining, just grind it out. And that's how I am. I do it to this day. Not much has changed. I get frustrated. I get upset. And I just grind. I just keep going. I don't stop. It's what are you going to do if you stop? What's the point?
So the mentality is still there. And now you work for yourself. You're self-employed. How does that show up in your day-to-day now that you are your own boss?
Well, what has changed, and it didn't in the beginning. And that's what I mean. I had to learn these lessons after the fact and kind of, like I said, refine myself, rediscover myself. And what had happened is, so I left, and back then I bought my house in 2007, 2008. So I was in the bubble. And I was in the bubble in Southern California, and I'd done it right. I'd put 20% down. So I was 6 figures in a down payment. I just remodeled it. Now I didn't have a job. And so I tried asking the bank for some forgiveness to help me out. And they're like, no way. Matter of fact, they said, when I had the lady on the phone, I go, hey, if you can give me a year, and I'm not asking not to make payments. So if you can just drop them down so I can get back on my feet. Because I had a lot of health problems too. I've gotten several surgeries since then. And I had to kind of fix a lot of things before I could figure out what the heck I was going to do. And she goes, well, do you have a car? And I go, what do you mean, do I have a car? She goes, well, sell it. Make sure you make your payments. And that's when I went, I'm in trouble. I went, these banks have lost their minds. I did it right. And they would not give me any breaks, none. And I had to short sell it. And so learn that lesson, another bitter pill to swallow, that I'd done everything right. I'd pursued the American dream to the textbook. I did everything they told me to do. And I got handed a big bowl of crap at the end. And I was like, okay, don't let that happen again. You followed what you were told, and now you've realized that's not the American dream. That's American nightmare. And leaving, I had to realize that I need to make my life to a point where a lot of this stuff doesn't affect me. So what does that mean? So I sold everything, literally sold everything, had a cleansing, sold all my belongings almost, except for my dogs, my bike, and my tools, and some clothes, and moved into a 475 square foot little place. Knocked my out my monthly out, as far as what I was paying by 2/3, and got rid of the house and started over from scratch. Completely started my life over again. Health, multiple surgeries, laid up for almost a year and a half, but still started a business and tried to figure it out. And for me though, what I had to teach myself is that I can take a day. If I'm coming to a point, matter of fact, I did it. The year, this is bad timing. So the year before COVID, I decided I'd been building my off-grid house. That's what I was known for. I'd done interviews on it, but I was a health guy. So I was doing like survival podcasts and prepper podcasts. I don't call myself one of those, but they liked me and how I taught things, and I could relate. I grew up hunting, fishing, outdoors. I'm a redneck. That's how I lived. That's how I grew up. And so doing that, I lost focus on the business while building the house. So I got caught up, and I finally said, I'm going to dedicate a year to the business, and I'm going to work every single day for a year, get it back on track. But my rule was, if I burned out or felt I was burning out, I would stop. And I did it. And because I enjoy what I do. So it's different too. If you enjoy what you do, you don't mind working every day, but you got to catch yourself. I catch myself to this day going, you need to take a break. So now it's changed in the sense that I've talked myself, and that I made it through the whole year. I made it. I didn't take any breaks. And at the end I went, lesson learned, only do that once. Because it was starting to push me to burnout, but it was good, because what it did teach me is 1 year of your life to dedicate to something you believe in is not that big of a deal. It really isn't. Anyone should be able to sacrifice a year of their life to do something to reap the benefit further on. And I'm reaping them right now. So that's what I mean. That year gave me the lifestyle and put me in the position I am in today. And not perfect, but then COVID hits.
Well, I mean, you had a total reset, which is I think what a lot of people right now probably are looking for. So it's very timely that you're talking about this. And I know that you have a few tips for people if they're listening to this, and maybe they've had a burnout story kind of like yours, where they were working in a toxic environment, where maybe they're dealing with narcissistic people, or just have a lot of circumstances that feel very stressful, and they have that go mentality where they want to improve their life. They want to put the envelope a little bit and do better than their parents, perhaps. But it's just not working out for them. What would you advise them?
That's life. Life doesn't work out all the time. And I've had to realize that too, that, there are a lot of people who are born lucky and, born on third base, and they think they hit a home run. It's one of those simple attitudes of, you got to realize your lot in life, your place in life, but you still drive it. Yeah, you may have been born at a disadvantage. You may not have all the things other people have, but you know what? No one cares. To be honest with you, no one really cares. It's on you. And for me, it's about understanding, what is your drive to be here? What are you going to do that makes you happy, that fulfills you? That's the third leg of my three-legged stool of the simple life and a life of freedom, is finding your life purpose. And today, I think a lot of people confuse that for physical items, shiny objects, that if I just get that Lexus, that's going to cure these blues. And it never does. That's not the key. The key is living the life you want simply. Taking out the noise, cutting out the chatter, and realizing what this American dream that's been imposed upon us has been imposed on us without us ever having any input into it, really, right? I have to live in this reality, but I didn't get to pick this reality in a way, right? Once I'm here, now I have to navigate through it to get to where I want to go. And I think once you kind of understand that the system, and I don't want to go negative, but you have to have that glass is half empty at times. You have to have that attitude, be a little bit of a pessimist and go, what am I seeing and what is going on around me? And determining going, well, this isn't right. Well, that's fine, but don't become a victim. Go, what do I need to change to make it right?
So what I heard you say is that, sometimes we are almost like programmed to think about where we need to go, what we need to do in our life, what's expected of us, what everybody else is doing. And your whole philosophy is to lead a simple life. And so you started talking to us about your three-legged stool, and it sounded like that's the third leg, is to maybe be a little bit more clear about what your purpose is, why you're doing the things that you're doing, and have it be meaningful, and maybe simplify the process. Does that sound right?
Absolutely. Because I think today humans, the way we live, we kind of lose touch that we're just an organism. We're just another animal on this planet. And we like to think we're special. We like to think we're, the top of the food chain, which we're not. We're really not. And understanding that our ancestors and even prehistorically lived very simple lives before cities and the modern system that we see today. We lived in small tribes. We were nomadic. We were hunter gatherers. Our lives were filled with a lot of downtime, a lot of family, a lot of community. And we've lost that. And I think once you kind of come to grips to that life is more than the concrete jungle and things. It's more than this massive bureaucracy that, we're in. My attitude is very simple. As long as I'm not hurting anyone else or infringing on their free will, why do you care? You know what I mean? That's being human. That's how I was born. I was born to be free, not to be under the boot of anyone.
Yeah.
And long as I'm not harming anyone, get out of my way. Let me live. Let me be me. And I think we've just, in society today, we've become like an ant colony. We've become sheep. We follow blindly and we don't question and ask why. Why do I have to do that? That doesn't make sense.
So you're empowering people to think for themselves. And what I find so ironic in your story is how you started off from this really small town and you felt like there's more to life. I'm going to really do more for myself. And so here you are hustling and you go through university, you go through like all of these jobs and you're making a lot of money. You end up, going down this whole path and then end up back in this place where it's just very like, let's strip all that away and let's go back to simple.